There comes a moment in every soul's journey where silence screams louder than noise. When your dreams feel distant, your strength feels small, and time seems to slip through your fingers like sand in the wind. But I want you to listen to me. Just 1 hour a day can change everything. 1 hour, not a miracle, not a fantasy, just 60 minutes of intention, courage, and focus. That's all it takes to start turning your pain into power, your chaos into clarity, and your life into legacy. There's a truth that most people spend their lives running from. No one is coming to save you. And when you finally stop waiting for someone to fix it, to lift you up, to carry the weight for you, that's when transformation begins. Ownership is not a punishment. It's a privilege. It means you are no longer a slave to excuses. You are no longer trapped in the web of blame. You rise, you stand, and you look yourself in the mirror and say, if it's going to be, it's up to me. 1 hour a day, that's all it takes to start practicing this radical responsibility, to stop looking at what they did to you and start asking what you're going to do about it. 1 hour where you stop scrolling, stop hiding, and start rebuilding. Ownership is not loud, but it is powerful. It whispers in your darkest moment, I am in control now. That hour you give to ownership is not for the world, it's for your soul. Because before the world can trust you, you have to trust yourself. And trust is built through truth. The truth about your habits, the truth about your procrastination, the truth about the patterns you keep repeating. Most people avoid this hour because it hurts. It stings to see where you've been the villain in your own story. But that pain is sacred. That pain is purpose, waiting to be redirected. So when you sit with yourself in silence, without the noise of distractions or the comfort of denial, you start uncovering the buried pieces of yourself. You start learning the rhythm of your own heartbeat. You start understanding why you settle, why you fear, why you self-sabotage. That's the work. That's the power. That's the moment you start becoming your own hero. Ownership is not about perfection. It's about permission. The permission to grow. When you take that hour to reflect on your choices, you begin to realize that growth is not in the leaps. It's in the consistency of small steps. 1 hour spent auditing your actions, examining your motives, holding yourself accountable. This is where strength is forged. People will tell you that you've changed. Let them. They don't know what it costs you to wake up, to choose healing over bitterness, to choose discipline over comfort. 1 hour a day of ownership doesn't just shift your circumstances, it shifts your identity. You stop saying I can't and start saying I haven't yet. You stop looking for permission and start giving it to yourself. You don't wait for the apology, the approval, the right time. You move, you decide, you own. This hour teaches you that the most powerful thing you can do is stop negotiating with your limitations. Stop entertaining the thoughts that keep you small. Ownership means rewriting your story while you're still bleeding. It means standing in the middle of your mess and choosing to be the author, not the victim. When you give yourself 1 hour each day to take full responsibility, you become dangerous to the version of you that wanted to quit. You stop blaming your parents, your past, your pain. You realize you are not a prisoner to what happened. You are the architect of what happens next. That hour becomes sacred ground where excuses are buried and power is born. You realize you don't have to have all the answers. You just have to be honest. Honest enough to admit you're not where you want to be. Brave enough to take the first step anyway. Ownership demands that you stop playing small, that you stop hiding behind your potential and start living inside your purpose. That hour a day might not look like much to others, but it's everything. It's when you stop talking and start doing. It's when you sit down with your goals and ask yourself, have I shown up today? Most people fear that level of honesty because it forces them to confront their comfort zones. But growth doesn't live in comfort. It lives in challenge, in discipline, in truth. Ownership means saying I failed today but showing up again tomorrow. It means embracing progress over perfection. And when you string enough of those hours together, you begin to realize that you're no longer waiting on life, you're leading it. You're no longer reacting, you're creating. That hour becomes the foundation of your future. 1 hour a day, that's where your freedom begins. Discipline is not about punishment, it's about promise. It's a silent agreement between who you are and who you're becoming. 1 hour a day of discipline isn't about changing the world overnight. It's about showing up when you don't feel like it. It's about doing the work even when the results aren't instant. Most people wait for motivation, but discipline doesn't wait. It gets up, it moves. It shows up tired, it shows up unsure, but it still shows up. That 1 hour is where you build your edge. When the world sleeps in, you rise. When others quit, you push forward. Discipline doesn't shout. It doesn't boast. It whispers. Keep going. It's not dramatic. It's daily, quiet, steady. And over time, it becomes who you are. That hour might seem small, but it holds your greatness. Because in a world that quits easily, the one who stays consistent wins. In that single hour, you start breaking chains that have held you back for years. Discipline begins where comfort ends. It's the voice that says, I know this hurts, but do it anyway. Every rep in the gym, every page you read, every word you write, it stacks, it builds, it compounds. Most people don't lack dreams. They lack discipline. They want the results, but not the repetition. But that hour a day when you give it your all, even on your worst days, becomes your silent transformation. It's when your body wants rest, but your spirit says no. It's when alarm clock feels like the enemy, but you still rise because the goal matters more than the feeling. Discipline doesn't give you fast success. It gives you earned success. That 1 hour teaches you how to suffer with purpose, how to sacrifice for progress, and how to endure until your results can't be ignored. It's not just about habits, it's about identity. Every time you choose discipline in that hour, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who follows through, that you are someone who keeps promises to themselves. That kind of self-trust is rare. It's valuable, it's power. In a world full of people who start strong and quit early, you become the one who finishes. Discipline doesn't need applause. It doesn't need eyes on you. It thrives in the shadows. In the quiet mornings, in the lonely nights, that hour becomes sacred ground where you prove to yourself that excuses don't belong in your story anymore. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. That's where real change begins. Not in doing everything right, but in doing the right thing, even when everything feels wrong. Every hour you give to discipline is an investment in the person you're becoming. The truth is, discipline will take you places motivation can't. Motivation fades. It depends on moods. But discipline is rooted in decision. You decide once and you honor that decision every single day for 1 hour. No matter how you feel, no matter what comes, it becomes your ritual, your rhythm, your reminder that greatness isn't built in public, it's built in private. That hour a day is when you block out the noise and lock in on the mission. You shut off the world and tune into your purpose. You say no to comfort and yes to progress. Over time, that single hour becomes the anchor that holds you steady through storms, the habit that carries you through chaos, the structure that saves you from self-destruction. Discipline doesn't make life easier. It makes you stronger. That's the gift. That's the reward. That hour is where warriors are made. And slowly, the change starts to show, not just in what you do, but in how you think, how you walk, how you talk. You start respecting yourself more. You start holding your head higher because that 1 hour of discipline taught you that you are not weak. You are not lazy. You are not average. You just needed consistency. 1 hour. That's it every day. And you start to notice that you're more focused, more confident, more in control. The same people who doubted you will ask how you did it. And you'll know it was never about luck. It was about that hour, that quiet, sacred hour where you showed up when no one was watching, where you stayed when it got hard, where you grew when it would have been easier to quit. You don't need to be extraordinary to give 1 hour a day, but giving 1 hour a day will make you extraordinary. Vision is the soul's way of reminding you that your current situation is not your final destination. 1 hour a day devoted to vision is how you plant seeds in the soil of tomorrow. You close your eyes not to escape reality, but to design it. In that hour, you see the life you want so clearly it begins to feel real before it exists. This isn't daydreaming. This is direction. This is clarity. This is intent. The hour of vision is where you sit down with your dreams and give them shape, color, and texture. You write the plan. You draw the path. You stop hoping and start building. Most people drift through life because they never stop to define it. But when you give yourself just 1 hour to ask, what do I truly want and what do I need to do to get there? You awaken a fire no obstacle can extinguish. That 1 hour a day teaches you to zoom out. It helps you step back from the chaos and see the blueprint. Without vision, you end up working hard on the wrong things. You confuse movement for progress. But in that quiet hour, you ask deeper questions. What's the outcome I want? What will it take? What's standing in my way? And then you start to see not just what's missing in your life, but what's possible. This hour helps you reverse engineer your dreams. You start with the end in mind and trace it back to the beginning, right here, right now. Every great legacy began with a vision that was nurtured long before it was ever applauded. Every extraordinary life started in the silence, in the stillness, in the imagination of someone who refused to settle for average. Vision gives your struggle purpose, makes the grind meaningful. It gives the pain direction. Your vision doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. That hour you spend dreaming, planning, imagining, it's for you, not for their approval, not for validation, but for alignment. Because the moment you stop living by default and start living by design, your life begins to shift. You don't stumble into greatness. You envision it. You shape it with your thoughts. You mold it with your faith. That hour is sacred, is where ideas are born, where creativity breathes, where belief expands. Most people never give themselves permission to want more. But when you sit alone with your vision, you're reminded that wanting more is not selfish, it's sacred. You were not made to shrink, you were made to shine. And if you can see it in your mind, you can start building it in your life. 1 hour, one decision, one step at a time. The power of vision lies in what it does to your choices. Once you have clarity, your priorities shift. That hour you spend visualizing the life you want begins to affect how you show up in the life you have. You say no to distractions that don't align. You let go of relationships that don't support your future. You stop chasing things that don't fit your vision. That clarity gives you courage. It becomes the compass that helps you navigate uncertainty. When life throws detours, you don't panic, you pivot because you know where you're headed. That hour isn't just about imagination, it's about preparation, and you start aligning your habits, your words, your energy with the person you're becoming. People may not understand the changes, but you do. You're not living for applause, you're living for alignment. And that hour each day keeps you grounded in who you are and who you're becoming. Over time, that 1 hour of vision becomes the most powerful hour of your day. It shifts how you speak. You begin to talk like the person you're becoming. It shifts how you walk. You carry yourself with intention. It shifts how you respond to fear, rejection, and doubt. You stop begging for permission and start walking in purpose. You start making moves, not out of desperation, but from design. Every breakthrough begins with belief, and that belief is born in your vision. In that hour, you're not reacting to life. You're creating it. One thought at a time, one plan at a time, one moment of clarity that reminds you why you started. This isn't fantasy, this is fuel. And it is in that quiet, unseen hour that destinies are decided. You don't need a perfect plan, you just need a clear one. And one sacred hour each day to bring it to life. Reflection is the hour where truth becomes your teacher. In a world that's always rushing forward, always demanding more, it's easy to lose yourself in the noise. But 1 hour a day spent in quiet reflection is how you reconnect with your core. It's where you ask the hard questions, the uncomfortable questions, the ones that reveal what you've been running from. What did I do today that aligned with my value? Where did I shrink back? Where did I rise? This isn't about guilt, it's about growth. When you take the time to honestly review your steps, you start recognizing the patterns, both the ones that help you and the ones that hold you hostage. That hour is your mirror, and it doesn't lie. It shows you who you really are, not who you pretend to be. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Reflection isn't passive, it's an act of power, a choice to see clearly. That hour teaches you the value of pause. In a society obsessed with hustle, slowing down can feel like falling behind, but reflection shows you that stillness is strategy. It's the moment you stop moving to make sure you're moving in the right direction. It's not about checking off boxes. It's about checking in with your soul. What am I chasing and why? Am I growing bitter or better? Is my heart still in this? These aren't surface level questions, they're soul level. And when you start answering them honestly, you begin to live with more intention. You stop living on autopilot and start moving with awareness. That 1 hour becomes your alignment check. It reveals whether your daily actions match your deeper purpose. It allows you to catch yourself before you drift too far. And in a world that keeps trying to pull you away from your center, that kind of clarity is a superpower. Reflection is where healing begins. So many people carry wounds they never stop to examine. They stay busy to avoid the ache. They stay distracted to dodge the discomfort. But when you sit with yourself for one intentional hour, you make space for the pain to speak. And what it tells you can change everything. That anger you carry, it's trying to protect you. That fear, it's begging you to be brave. That regret, it's reminding you to choose differently next time. Reflection isn't about staying stuck in the past. It's about learning from it so you can rise higher. It's the hour where you forgive yourself, not to forget, but to finally move forward. You don't grow by pretending you're fine. You grow by admitting when you're not and choosing to heal anyway. 1 hour, that's all it takes. To start releasing what no longer serves you and making peace with the parts of you you've been avoiding. Reflection teaches you accountability, not shame. When you look back at your actions and decisions without filters, you begin to see how your life is shaped by your daily choices. That hour isn't about judging yourself, it's about understanding yourself. Why did I say that? Why did I give up today? Why did I react instead of respond? These questions pull you into awareness, and from awareness comes transformation. You realize that nothing changes unless you do. That growth isn't something you stumble into, it's something you step into with open eyes and open hands. That hour shows you that responsibility isn't a burden, it's a bridge. The more honest you are in reflection, the more powerful you become in action. And when you combine truth with grace, you become unstoppable. 1 hour a day where you tell yourself the truth can lead to a life that reflects your highest potential. Eventually, reflection becomes your compass. It starts influencing your decisions before you even make them. You begin living today with tomorrow's wisdom. You start anticipating consequences, not just reacting to them. That 1 hour of deep thought begins to shape the other 23. You walk through life more grounded, more centered, more aligned. The noise of the world doesn't rattle you the same way because you've already faced your own truth in silence. You've already sorted through the chaos. You've already checked in with your vision. And that kind of internal peace, it radiates, it stabilizes, it leads. People will wonder how you stay so calm, so focused, so rooted. It's because you give yourself the gift of reflection. And in that gift, you find yourself again and again. Reflection isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. And 1 hour a day of looking inward might just be the key to finally moving forward. The hour of skill is the hour that separates the dreamers from the doers. It's the hour where talent gets sharpened, where potential turns into performance. 1 hour a day of focused skill building isn't just about getting better. It's about becoming undeniable. It's where you pick up that instrument, open that book, watch that tutorial, practice that move, write that page, and commit to doing it over and over again until it becomes a part of you. Skill is not a gift, it's a grind. It doesn't come through wishing, but through working. And when you devote an hour every day to mastering your craft, you build more than ability, you build confidence. You build muscle memory. You build resilience. The world respects results, and results come from repetition. Every great artist, leader, innovator was once a beginner, but they gave their craft the time it deserved. That 1 hour daily made the difference. This hour teaches you patience. In the beginning, you won't see much progress. Your hands may shake, your words may stumble, your steps may falter. But if you stay consistent, those little efforts compound. That 1 hour adds up in ways you can't see at first. 10 hours becomes 100, 100 becomes 1,000, and somewhere in that journey, your skill evolves into mastery. You start noticing improvements, not just in your ability, but in your mindset. You're no longer afraid to look foolish. You stop expecting perfection and start embracing progress. The hour of skill isn't always glamorous. It's often quiet, repetitive, even boring. But that's where the transformation happens. Because when others stop, you continue. When they get distracted, you stay focused. And that discipline builds a reputation, not just as someone who's talented, but as someone who's trusted. Someone who's worked for what they know, earned what they can do. Most people want to skip this hour. They want shortcuts, hacks, instant results. But mastery doesn't work like that. The hour of skill demands humility. It asks you to become a student every single day, to be teachable, to make mistakes and still return. It's not about ego, it's about effort. You don't need to be naturally gifted to become excellent. You just need to be consistent. That hour each day becomes sacred ground. You show up tired. You show up uninspired, but you still show up, because every time you do, you get a little sharper, a little stronger, a little closer to being exceptional. You may not feel it immediately, but over time, others will. They'll see the difference in your work. They'll feel the weight of your preparation, and they'll respect the hours behind the scenes that shape the performance in front of them. Skill is silent work that speaks loudly. This hour doesn't just teach you how to perform, it teaches you how to focus. In that 60-minute block, you learn to block out the noise and dive into the details. You learn the value of deep work, of losing yourself in the process. It's not about multitasking. It's about single tasking with purpose. You're not trying to do everything. You're trying to do one thing really, really well. And in a world addicted to distraction, that level of discipline makes you, whether it's coding, speaking, painting, training, writing, whatever your skill is, it deserves your undivided attention. That hour becomes your lab, your dojo, your sanctuary. You study your mistakes, you refine your process, you stretch your limits, you learn how to handle failure without folding. You learn how to keep going without applause. And slowly, your skill begins to speak for itself. It carries weight. It opens doors. It creates opportunities. Eventually, this hour starts influencing how you show up in every area of life. The discipline you develop here leaks into your relationships, your work ethic, your habits. You begin to approach problems with more creativity, more confidence, more resilience, because you've trained your mind to grow through effort. You know what it feels like to struggle and improve. You know what it means to show up with nothing but hunger and leave with progress. That's the beauty of skill. It's a reminder that you have control over your growth. You may not control every outcome, but you control how often you train, how focused you are, how intentional you become. And when you give yourself just 1 hour a day, day after day, the results will not only change what you can do, they'll change who you believe you are. Not just a learner, not just a worker, but a master in motion. The hour of faith is the hour you spend feeding your spirit when everything around you tells you to doubt. It's the moment you pause your striving, your worrying, your endless planning, and you lean into something greater than your own strength. Faith isn't just belief, it's trust. It's surrender. It's deciding, even when the evidence is scarce, that the vision in your heart is more real than the circumstances in front of you. That hour becomes your anchor in the storm, your reminder that purpose runs deeper than pressure. You sit in silence, or you pray, or you speak affirmations, or you journal promises. But whatever the form, it's the same force, faith. The kind that strengthens your spine when life tries to bend you. That hour isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's you declaring, I may not have control, but I still have direction. I may not see the full path, but I trust the next step. In that sacred hour, you build more than belief, you build resilience. Because faith doesn't guarantee ease, it guarantees endurance. It tells you even here, you can keep going. Even when the world says you're crazy for dreaming that big. Even when the doors don't open the way you planned. Faith gives you the courage to move forward before the answers show up. It silences the fear that says you're not enough and replaces it with the truth. You're becoming. You start trusting that what's meant for you won't miss you. That delay isn't denial. That rejection isn't the end, it's redirection. The hour of faith is where you stop trying to carry everything alone and start remembering you were never meant to. You release what's heavy. You let go of what you can't fix. You stand on what you believe, not what you feel. And somehow in doing that, you rise. That hour makes you brave in a world that profits from your fear. It teaches you to speak over your life even when your voice shakes. It teaches you to plant seeds even when the soil looks dry. Because faith is action without evidence, confidence without confirmation. It's showing up to the life you want before it shows up for you. You don't need to have it all figured out to take the first step. You just need to trust the one who gave you the vision. That trust isn't blind, it's built. Built in the quiet moments when you choose hope over despair, focus over frustration, persistence over panic. You stop asking, what if it doesn't work, and start declaring, what if it does? You shift from fear-based thinking to faith-based living. That's not delusion, that's destiny. And the more time you spend in that faithful space, the stronger your roots grow. Even when the storm hits, the hour of faith doesn't always feel powerful. Sometimes it's filled with silence, with tears, with doubt creeping in at the edges. But that's when it matters most. Faith is forged in the fire, not in comfort. It's in those quiet battles that no one sees. The moments you choose to believe anyway, that you become unshakable. You may bend, but you won't break because you've anchored yourself in something deeper than circumstances. That hour becomes your place of restoration, of realignment, of remembering that your value doesn't come from your productivity, but from your purpose. That you're not forgotten, that you're not alone. You remind yourself daily that setbacks are setups, that closed doors are course corrections, that your waiting season is not wasted. And when you step out of that hour, you're not just motivated, you're fortified. You carry a calm that confusion can't steal, and a strength that struggle can't shake. This hour makes everything else possible. It redefines success. Because without faith, you chase validation. With it, you walk in vision. You stop looking for proof and start living from promise. That 1 hour a day reconnects you with why you started in the first place. You remember who you are, and more importantly, whose you are. You remember that your identity isn't built on followers, finances, or fame. It's built on a foundation that doesn't crack under pressure. And because you're rooted, you can rise. Rise after failure. Rise through fear. Rise without needing applause. Faith fuels your consistency. It whispers, keep going, when everything says stop. It reminds you that the breakthrough you're waiting for is already in motion. You may not see it yet, but it's there. And with each day you show up, each hour you invest, you're not just hoping, you're preparing. Because faith prepares the room before the blessing arrives. The hour of service is the hour that reminds you the world is bigger than your problems. It's where your strength meets someone else's struggle and your time becomes someone else's lifeline. In a culture that tells you to chase status, service teaches you to chase impact. It's not about grand gestures. It's about quiet moments where you choose to show up. A message of encouragement, a meal delivered a listening ear. 1 hour given freely can rewrite someone's day and maybe even their direction. That hour doesn't just change them, it changes you. It pulls you out of your own head, your own cycle of worry and want, and places your heart in alignment with purpose. Service teaches you compassion, humility, and awareness. It reveals that the highest use of your life isn't self-promotion, and when you commit to serving consistently, your life begins to echo far beyond your own story. That 1 hour becomes your reminder that greatness isn't found in what you accumulate, but in what you give away. It's where ego takes a seat and empathy takes the lead. In the hour of service, your titles don't matter, your resume doesn't matter, your following doesn't matter, only your willingness to care does. And that kind of care leaves a legacy. You don't have to have it all together to make a difference. You just need a heart that sees others and hands that are willing. And the beauty of service is that it always gives back. You pour into others and somehow you get filled in return. That joy, that fulfillment, that quiet peace, it's priceless. In helping others heal, you often begin to heal yourself. That hour builds humanity. It reminds you that behind every face is a story. Behind every request is a reason. And behind every act of kindness is an opportunity to rise. Service doesn't require perfection. It requires presence. It's not about having the right words, but about offering the right spirit. Just showing up with love, patience, and a willingness to give something of yourself is enough. In a world obsessed with doing more, the hour of service invites you to simply be more aware, more generous, more grounded. You start to notice needs others miss. You start to listen with your heart, not just your ears. And in that space, miracles happen. Walls come down, hope gets restored, lives are lifted, not just by money or advice, but by your time, your presence, your belief in someone else's worth. That's power. Not loud, not flashy, but lasting. And the more you serve, the more you realize that real success is measured by how you impact those who can't repay you. Because giving without expectation is where true influence begins and true fulfillment lives. The hour of service is the antidote to entitlement. It's where gratitude meets action. When you serve, you're reminded that everything you've been given, your talents, your time, your resources, is not just for you. It's meant to be shared. And that sharing doesn't diminish you, it expands you. You start to live with open hands instead of closed fists. You realize that holding tightly to what you have doesn't create security, it creates scarcity. But giving freely, that creates abundance. You stop seeing people as obstacles and start seeing them as opportunities. You stop comparing and start contributing. And in that shift, your mindset transforms. You're no longer just chasing your goals. You're becoming part of something bigger, something eternal, something that ripples out farther than you'll ever see. The hour of service doesn't just make you useful, it makes you whole. Because when you serve others, you remember what you're really here for. It's easy to believe that one person, 1 hour can't do much, but the truth is, every ripple starts with a single drop. That 1 hour may feel small, but its impact can echo across generations. A child mentored, a neighbor helped, a stranger encouraged. These aren't small things, they're seeds. And seeds, when watered with consistency and care, grow into forests. The hour of service is where you stop waiting for the world to change and start becoming the change. It's where you stop asking, what's in it for me? And start asking, what can I give today? That question shifts your soul. It awakens you. It humbles you. And in that humility, you find honor. You find purpose. You find peace. Because you're no longer just surviving, you're serving. And in serving, you're truly living. Not just for yourself, but for something eternal, beautiful, and far bigger than you ever imagined. So when life gets loud and your dreams feel distant, remember this: 1 hour of service can anchor your soul and align your life. 1 hour of selfless love can heal wounds you never knew existed, not just in others, but in yourself. You don't need a platform to make an impact. You don't need a title to be significant. All you need is the willingness to care, to show up, to give, even when it feels like no one sees, because someone always does. And that someone might be hanging on by a thread, waiting for your kindness to be their turning point. Don't underestimate the power of your time, your words, your compassion. The world needs your light. So give it freely, shine it daily, live with intention, love without limits, and serve like your life depends on it, because someone else's just might. God bless you. Thank you for giving me your time, your heart, and your attention. Stay tuned for more powerful, life-changing motivation, because your best chapter is still being written.